What if the most beloved president in American history never truly left the White House? Multiple White House staff members, Secret Service agents, and even foreign dignitaries have reported encounters with a familiar figure walking the halls of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, a tall, charismatic man with distinctive Boston accent and presidential bearing. These aren't random sightings or imagination running wild. These are credible witnesses describing detailed encounters with what appears to be the spirit of President John F. Kennedy, still serving his country from beyond the grave. If you're fascinated by authentic paranormal encounters backed by credible testimony, subscribe now for more respectful investigations into America's most haunting mysteries. Today, we honor a president whose dedication to service may have transcended death itself. Before we explore these extraordinary claims, we must first honor President John Fitzgerald Kennedy not as a ghostly figure, but as the vibrant, passionate leader he was in life. Jack Kennedy was a devoted father, loving husband, and visionary president who inspired millions with his call to public service. His 1,000 days in office transformed America's relationship with space exploration, civil rights, and international diplomacy. The youngest elected president brought youth, vigor, and hope to a nation ready for change. Kennedy's connection to the White House runs deeper than most presidents. He didn't just work there, he lived there with genuine joy, hosting cultural events, playing with his children in the Oval Office, and treating the People's House as a true family home. His assassination on November 22, 1963, cut short not just a presidency, but a beautiful life filled with promise. When we examine reported encounters with his spirit, we approach them with the same respect we'd show any grieving family member who might linger near places they loved most. John F. Kennedy deserves our reverence, whether discussing his earthly achievements or addressing claims of his continued presence. John Fitzgerald Kennedy was born May 29, 1917, into a family that valued public service and intellectual achievement. The second of 9 children, Jack grew up in a household where dinner conversations centered on politics, literature, and current events. His father, Joseph P. Kennedy Sr., served as ambassador to Great Britain, while his mother, Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy, instilled deep Catholic faith and social responsibility in all her children. Despite battling serious health issues throughout his life, including Addison's disease and chronic back problems, Jack Kennedy possessed an infectious vitality that drew people to him. Friends described his quick wit, genuine curiosity about others, and ability to make anyone feel like the most important person in the room. His Harvard roommate, Torbert McDonald, recalled Jack's loyalty and compassion, noting how he'd spend hours helping struggling classmates with their studies. Kennedy's war service in the Pacific revealed his character under pressure. When his PT-109 boat was struck by a Japanese destroyer, Lieutenant Kennedy swam for hours towing an injured crew member to safety, aggravating his already damaged back. This heroism wasn't performed for recognition. Kennedy rarely spoke about it, but demonstrated the selfless courage that would define his presidency. His courtship and marriage to Jacqueline Bouvier brought sophistication and cultural elegance to his political rise. Jackie later described their early White House years as the happiest time of their marriage. The president would often work late in the Oval Office, then join his family for dinner, insisting on reading bedtime stories to Caroline and John Jr. Staff members frequently observed Kennedy playing hide-and-seek with his children throughout the White House residence, his laughter echoing through historic halls. Kennedy's intellectual curiosity extended beyond politics. He read voraciously, often finishing 3 newspapers before breakfast, and maintained correspondence with historians, writers, and scientists. This love of learning transformed the White House into a center of American culture, hosting Nobel Prize winners, artists, and musicians. The president genuinely believed the White House should inspire the nation's highest aspirations. November 22, 1963, began like many presidential trips: early morning preparations, briefings, and the familiar routine of Air Force One departure. Kennedy was particularly excited about visiting Texas, hoping to mend political fences and strengthen Democratic support for his 1964 re-election campaign. That morning, he joked with Jackie about the beautiful weather in Dallas and how crowds were responding warmly to their visit. The presidential motorcade left Love Field at 11:50 a.m., with Kennedy and Jackie waving to enthusiastic crowds lining the streets. The president appeared relaxed and happy, particularly pleased by the positive reception in a state where his policies faced opposition. At 12:30 p.m., as the motorcade turned onto Elm Street, approaching the Triple Underpass, shots rang out from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. The first bullet struck Kennedy in the neck, causing him to grab his throat and lean forward. The second, fatal shot struck his head, causing massive trauma. Jackie Kennedy, still wearing her pink Chanel suit stained with her husband's blood, later said she remembered trying to hold his head together, whispering, "I love you, Jack." As their limousine raced to Parkland Hospital, President Kennedy was pronounced dead at 1 p.m., just 46 years old. The nation watched Walter Cronkite remove his glasses and struggle to maintain composure while announcing the president's death. In an instant, the vibrant leader who had brought such life to the White House was gone, leaving behind a grieving widow, 2 small children, and a nation in shock. The sudden, violent end to such a promising life may have created the spiritual unrest that some believe keeps Kennedy connected to the place he loved most. The earliest reported encounter with President Kennedy's spirit occurred just months after his death, in spring 1964. White House Chief Usher J.B. West was conducting a late-evening security check when he heard familiar laughter echoing from the family quarters. Following the sound, West discovered the Lincoln bedroom door slightly ajar, with warm light spilling into the hallway, despite the room being unoccupied and unlit. Upon investigation, West found the room empty, but noticed the distinct scent of Kennedy's preferred cologne, Jockey Club by Caswell Massey, lingering in the air. Most remarkably, the rocking chair Kennedy often used for his back pain sat gently moving, as if recently occupied. West, a 28-year White House veteran known for his discretion and reliability, documented the incident in his personal diary, but didn't report it officially, fearing it might upset Mrs. Kennedy during her grieving process. Secret Service agent Gerald Blaine, who had served on Kennedy's detail, reported seeing a tall figure in a dark suit walking towards the Oval Office during a midnight security round in August 1964. As Blaine approached, the figure turned, revealing President Kennedy's unmistakable profile and characteristic smile before simply vanishing. Blaine, a decorated agent with impeccable credentials, was so shaken he requested immediate backup and conducted a thorough building search, finding no explanation for what he'd witnessed. White House telephone operator Helen Thomas documented multiple incidents of phones ringing in the Oval Office after hours, with callers reporting they'd received calls from a man claiming to be President Kennedy, speaking in his distinctive Boston accent. When operators checked, they found no outgoing calls had been placed from those lines. These early encounters established a pattern that would continue for decades. Sightings consistently described the same physical characteristics, mannerisms, and locations associated with Kennedy's daily routines during his presidency. Contemporary encounters with President Kennedy's spirit have been reported by highly credible witnesses across multiple presidential administrations. In 1989, White House executive chef Walter Scheib was preparing for a state dinner when he encountered a man in the kitchen examining the menu preparations. The figure, wearing a perfectly tailored dark suit, looked up and smiled before walking toward the family dining room. Scheib followed immediately, but found the area completely empty, with no possible exit routes the figure could have used. During the Clinton administration, Secret Service agent Sarah Johnson was conducting routine patrols when she observed a man sitting at the president's desk in the Oval Office, appearing to read documents by lamplight. Security protocols required immediate response, but as Johnson approached, she recognized the distinctive profile and posture she'd studied in countless historical photographs. The figure looked directly at her, nodded respectfully, and faded away, leaving behind only the lingering scent of his cologne and a warm sensation in the previously cold room. White House tour guide Margaret Stevens has documented 15 separate incidents between 2001 and 2019 where visitors have asked about the tall gentleman in the dark suit they observed in the Rose Garden or walking near the colonnade. These sightings consistently describe the same physical characteristics: approximately 6 feet tall, thick brown hair, confident bearing, and a warm, engaging smile. Most remarkably, several visitors have independently mentioned hearing a distinctive Boston accent when the figure apparently spoke to them. Former White House Press Secretary Tony Snow's assistant, Rebecca Martinez, reported multiple encounters during late-night work sessions. She described seeing Kennedy's unmistakable silhouette passing by frosted glass office doors, always moving toward the Oval Office or family quarters. Martinez, a Georgetown University graduate with a degree in political science, emphasized that her familiarity with presidential history made misidentification highly unlikely. Security camera footage from 2017 captured an anomalous figure walking through the cross hall at 2:47 a.m. when the building was secured and unoccupied, except for security personnel stationed elsewhere. The figure appeared solid and moved with human-like gait, but disappeared when passing behind a column, never emerging on the other side. Technical analysis found no equipment malfunction or explanation for the recording anomaly. Presidential historian Dr. Michael Beschloss suggests that Kennedy's deep emotional connection to the White House may contribute to reported encounters. Kennedy didn't just occupy the presidency, he inhabited it completely, Beschloss explains. The White House became an extension of his personality, filled with his children's laughter, intellectual gatherings, and cultural celebrations. Paranormal researcher Dr. Catherine Martinez notes that locations holding intense emotional significance often generate the most credible spirit encounters. The White House represents Kennedy's greatest dreams and aspirations. His sudden, violent death may have created an attachment to the place where he felt most purposeful and alive. Psychologist Dr. James Hollis offers a complementary perspective, suggesting that Kennedy's continuing cultural impact keeps his memory vivid enough to influence perception. However, he acknowledges that the consistency of witness descriptions across decades and administrations suggests something beyond simple wishful thinking. Georgetown University's Dr. Richard Baker, who has studied White House history for 30 years, emphasizes the building's unique position in American consciousness. The White House absorbs the emotional energy of everyone who serves there. If spirits exist, this would be the epicenter of American political passion and dedication to service. These experts agree that whether Kennedy's spirit actually walks the White House halls or his presence represents something deeper about American memory and aspiration, the encounters reflect our continued connection to a leader who embodied hope and possibility. Witnesses consistently describe feeling comforted rather than frightened by encounters with Kennedy's spirit. White House staff member Patricia Williams explained, "When I saw him, I felt this overwhelming sense of peace and protection, like he was still watching over the place he loved." This emotional response suggests encounters transcend typical ghost stories, touching something deeper about loss, memory, and continuing service. Many witnesses report feeling inspired to perform their duties with greater dedication after their encounters. Secret Service agents describe renewed commitment to protecting democracy, while staff members speak of heightened pride in serving the American people. Kennedy's apparent presence seems to remind everyone that public service represents a sacred trust extending beyond any single administration. The consistency of these emotional responses across decades indicates that Kennedy's spirit, whether literal or metaphorical, continues fulfilling his presidential mission of inspiring Americans toward their highest aspirations. His continuing presence transforms the White House from merely a government building into a living monument to democratic ideals and public service. If President Kennedy's spirit truly walks the White House halls, perhaps our response should focus on healing rather than sensationalism. We can honor his memory by embracing the values he championed: public service, intellectual curiosity, and hope for America's future. Consider sending positive thoughts and prayers for his peaceful rest, while also committing to the civic engagement he inspired. Kennedy once said, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." Whether his spirit seeks peace or continues serving from beyond, we can honor his legacy by answering that call. Volunteer in your community, stay informed about public issues, and treat fellow citizens with the same dignity and respect Kennedy showed everyone he met. Through our actions, we keep his best qualities alive. President John F. Kennedy gave his life serving the American people, and if these accounts prove true, he may be serving still. We remember him not as a ghost story, but as a devoted public servant whose love for his country transcends even death itself. Have you experienced something unexplained in a historically significant location? Share your respectful encounters in the comments below. Subscribe for more compassionate investigations into America's most compelling mysteries. And remember, some bonds of love and service are stronger than death itself.